Happy Wednesday. Happy the vision is possible Wednesday. I'm so glad to have all of you here. Hello there, YouTube. Hello there, Facebook. Hello there, Instagram. Now, Instagram, I can't push the button to wave at you guys. My camera's right here shooting the podcast. So I don't want to keep turning around, but know that I'm waving and sending you love as I'm sending to everyone. And hey, everybody, yes, that's right, Eric. It's Happy Hump Day Wednesday. I'm so glad to have you all here. And as we start every show in the last, how many days has it been? Far too long. Let's send prayers and blessings, and if you're a Buddhist, and chant like I do, for all the people involved in this insane conflict in the Middle East. This insane conflict around the world that is truly unnecessary. So let's send some love and healing and feelings of this ending, really ending, not stalling, not pausing and then starting again, that it really ends and some clearer heads can take control of this situation. All right, because we're going to talk about making visions possible. And we want to make sure that everyone knows we still keep in line and in thoughts with those who are not as fortunate as we are. So welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here. I hope you have had a splendid week. I've had a splendid week. I'm back in Atlanta, recurring on Beyond the Gates, 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on CBS. You can stream it on Paramount Plus. It is a fabulous soap opera. I hope you check it out. Tamar Tooney stars in it, and Clifton Davis. Oh, wonderful actors, and a number of terrific, talented people. So I hope you check it out. And so now that I've kind of given you just that little bit of information, let's talk about our guest, Dr. Erroll G. Southers. He's amazing. I met him through my manager, and he had been telling me about him. And I went to a club in the Astor in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, and heard a conversation that he had. So I bought his book. I had to. I'm almost halfway through it. Oh, baby, it is something else. And if you've been to my show before, you know I could give you the bio. I could read to you, even memorize it, but that's not quite as interesting as introducing this wonderful man in this way, Dr. Erroll G. Southers. Good evening. How are you, Errol?
Iona, I don't know what to say.
Are you impressed with yourself?
No, I'm impressed with you. That is the best vignette anyone has ever done. Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
Oh, you are so welcome. You are so welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm always going through a lot of your bio, your EPK, all kinds of information I can find for you, for my guests to
Mhm.
get the title of the show. So in your book, I opened your book and I said, "Talk to me, Errol. What's going to be the title of the show?" And your mother comes up with the phrase, oh God, what was it that she said? It went out of my mind. I set it up so beautifully. And then when she
You know,
said,
actually, my dad came
that
up
was
with
your
the phrase.
that was your dad?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can't change the castle from outside the moat.
No, 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 no. The title of this episode. This is terrible. Isn't this awful? I
Oh,
should have it right in front of me. I just had
that's
it
okay.
right there. And what let me see. Oh God. Okay, let me calm down. This is live. Let me just calm down and say, set your priorities.
Oh,
That's what she
yeah.
talked about.
Yeah, she sure did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do remember.
set big objectives.
Hmm.
That's what she
Right.
talked about. And I thought
That's right.
that was so powerful, especially from where you
Thank you.
come from and where you are. And now I've put all that out there in the video, but I want to hear, where did you start? Where did you come from? Catch our audience up to you.
Well, I came from a town in New Jersey, born in Elizabeth, but I grew up in a town that was less than 8,000 people, still is, didn't have curbs until probably the last decade.
Wow.
And it was just small town New Jersey. And God only knew that I'd be able to have the adventure that I still have in my life, due in large part to my parents, who were just extraordinary human beings. And it's because of them, and of course, the people before them, that I'm able to be where I am today, standing on their shoulders. But New Jersey are my roots, and I left there. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, but I left there because
Yes.
I had enough winter.
Yeah.
And when I moved to LA, my father said, "Good, I'll come and visit you," and he certainly did.
Good. And your dad, was it your dad or both your parents, wanted you to be a doctor? And
They
that was your
sure did.
trajectory initially, right?
Absolutely. I was their son, the doctor, got headlong into it when I was 13 years old. So, all my friends grew up typical boys. They were making model cars and airplanes. I had a model of the heart. I had a model of the eye. I was volunteering to go to the hospital to see what doctors did. And I was on my way. I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon. And I
Mm.
even worked in a drugstore as a teenager in the summertime, where my mom started,
Mhm.
because she was a pharmacist, as you read. In fact, she was the first Black woman to graduate from the Rutgers School of Pharmacy and the first person in our family to have a college degree. So
That's
she set
wonderful.
the bar pretty high. And lo and behold, both my parents wound up with 3 graduate degrees before I got mine. So they set the bar very high.
And how did you end up at Brown,
I
which
did.
is a terrific,
Uh,
terrific university?
I went to Brown, very proud to be there. And I actually grew up there. In fact, my frat brothers, I'm an alpha, and my frat brothers will say, we became men there.
Hmm.
And Brown was at a very interesting time in its trajectory. 10 years before I got there, the African American students there pushed the administration for some changes regarding the demographic of Black students there, Hispanics, representation on the faculty,
Hmm.
scholarships, and quite frankly, the university reneged. So there I was in 1975, and I was there as a freshman in my sophomore year, I mean, my freshman year in the second semester. And we decided we were going to push back. And so we started talking about what to do. And we believed in nonviolence, but we certainly believed in action that would make change. And lo and behold, before I knew it, we had put together a plan to take over the university. And that's just what we
Hmm.
did.
And you made that change. They finally acquiesced, didn't they?
They sure did. They acquiesced on, we had a group called the Third World Coalition. It was
Hmm.
Black, Hispanic, and Asian students. They coalesced on the demographic and percentages of students that would be in the university representative. We were demanding that they be at least be representative of the same demographic of the United States. They acquiesced on faculty because we wanted more tenured faculty that represented us. And they also acquiesced on scholarships. And so it went rather well. It was a 2-day takeover, and I learned an awful lot, but we were not giving up, and we're glad that we did it.
And it sounds like that was something that might have inspired you or might have started the wheels turning of what is possible, of how you can affect change.
Absolutely, because literally we had a number of students inside the building who basically secured the building, and I was outside the building, and they were not coming out until our demands were met.
Can we say the building? Because you also did something else that was really wonderful. I'm sorry, this happens with the camera. There you go. Thanks, camera. If you would tell us the building, but also what you did was, from what I read, you did this on a particular day during a particular event that was happening.
We certainly did. The building is University Hall, and we did this, or I should say, executed this plan of a takeover right before Parents' Weekend. So the university had a choice. They could have parents arrive that weekend and see us occupying the building and marching around the building. And by the way, although I played sax for many years, I played percussion as well. So I was one of the conga drummers out there that went on 24 hours a day when we took over. They could come and see that, or they could come and see University Hall as it usually is the other 364 days a year. And so just before Parents' Weekend got underway, the president of the university and administration sat with our leaders and penned out an agreement.
That's wonderful. I think that's, excuse me, so important, because so many times when we are thinking about a change that needs to be made, it's the thought of, you thought through this carefully of what is going to affect them. Not only we want this, but how can you achieve that in a way where they will listen to you the most effective way? And that was very intelligent. It sounds like a group we even need today.
Thank you. And, we had a lesson learned from brothers and sisters who were there a decade before us, because they sat down with the same administration, penned out an agreement, and when they walked away, the administration just laughed at it. So we said, no, we've got to do something to demonstrate that we're serious. Well, what demonstrates our level of commitment? We'll stop the university from functioning. And that's essentially what we did for 2 days. We owned the administration building.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. And from there, then you end up in Los Angeles. How did you end up becoming a Santa Monica police officer?
Well, you're skipping a really important part. And I understand.
Tell me.
So I left, I should say I finished Brown, and I had spent 3 years in endocrinology research at Rhode Island Hospital.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes.
And I got accepted to as fate would have it, Mom's alma mater, university or I should say Rutgers University in Newark. College of Medicine and Dentistry is what it was called at the time. And I went through the summer program, and I started fall semester. I was in histology and gross anatomy. And I own it as one thing about me. I know when I want to do something, and I know when I don't. And I woke up one morning, and I did it several mornings, and my heart just said, this is not where you need to be. This is not what you want to do. So since 13 years old, that's all I ever wanted to do. But I was convinced that it was not where I needed to go. So I packed my things. I paid the rent for my part of the apartment with my roommates for the remainder of the year. And I flew to Los Angeles and came to LA. Here I was with a degree from an Ivy League school, pre-med. And I'm looking in the paper for a job, trying to pay rent. And I see I can't find a job. And I see this advertisement for animal control officer. Well, I'm from Jersey. I don't know animal control officer is basically slang for dog catcher. So I go to the interview.
We're sitting there with these in Los Angeles in California.
No kidding. I'm sitting there with these 3 police officers, and I'm thinking I need a job, and they're thinking we need to recruit you to the academy. And that's the last thing I wanted to do after the way I grew up. I was not going to be a cop. So I became an animal control officer. So the moral to this story for your audience is 2 things. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. But don't ever quit medical school and not tell your mother, okay?
Oh
because
no! Oh no! You didn't.
I think she forwarded my mail to me for about 6 months before she talked to me. That was not good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about a lot this evening, but to cut to the chase, I don't think I redeemed myself fully until I became an FBI agent and walked across the stage in Quantico, Virginia. But when I
Mhm.
got my doctorate degree and she sat there, I think she was okay at that point.
Mm, mm. You know, there's another thing that I love about your story. You followed your vision, you followed your thoughts. You didn't know where it was going to take you, but you knew you couldn't do what you were still doing. And then because you did that, you end up in this place as a dog catcher. And it leads you to where you end up today. And I think that's so important because so many times people lay on the couch, they give up, they don't continue to follow their dreams. Did you know anyone in California? Really? Did you know a lot? You just
No
came.
one.
Okay.
I just came here. My
Mm-hmm.
brother was at Brown 2 years behind me. His roommate lived in Los Angeles in East LA.
Okay.
And I came out here one year to the Rose Bowl game and went to the Rose Parade, and I knew them. They adopted me. I came
Mm,
out and stayed with them for a few weeks, and then I got my job in Santa Monica and I started working. And I wanted to be honest with you, in following my heart, I had two parents who said the most important thing in the world is your education, and no one can ever take it from you. And the other thing they told me is, you can do anything you want. Well, I always believed I could always do anything I wanted to because I had the intelligence to do it.
mm,
And so when I grew up and all my buddies were football stars and basketball stars, and I wasn't, they were in the newspaper every week and I wasn't. My dad used to always say, let's just see where they are when all the shouting is over.
mm,
And he was right. And so I never believed I was going to have a problem doing anything because I believed I could do anything I wanted to do.
mm. And that takes you to your education.
It does. It does. And they were both very well educated, as I mentioned. And when I was in fifth grade, what the changed the trajectory was I was in a school a couple blocks from my house, in our neighborhood was predominantly black. And we were there for PTA meeting, and counselor told my mother, your son's going to be a really good woodshop teacher one day. Well, it wasn't as bad as it sounds because my father was a vocational high school principal and then superintendent, but that wasn't his dream for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they took me out of that school, paired
That's
me
right.
up with three black girls, and we got bused across town to an all white school where I was the only black male for 2 years. And then I went on to a middle school where I was also one of the few black students there. And I excelled academically because I felt I was just as good as they were because that's all I ever heard at home.
Mm-hmm. That is so important. What we are feeding our children in their minds. That's so important to remind,
Mhm.
and then feeding them. I know they gave you books and they kept your imagination alive, and not just your learning, but also about yourself, what you think about yourself. That's so important.
Absolutely. You are so correct. Not only did they give me books, Iona, when I finished the homework I got from school, I had my parents' homework.
Mm,
So my dad was a naval architect and a math whiz.
wow.
And I mean, to him, calculus was just a hobby. So
Hmm.
I wound up with additional math problems. My mother was, of course, a pharmacist, and she went on to teach biology and chemistry. So I had no excuse. They also made sure I knew who I was. I knew who Dr. Charles Drew was. I knew who Crispus Attucks
Mm-hmm.
was, because those are things I didn't learn in the history class in
Mm-mm.
the school that I went to. It
Mm-mm.
was a lot more than George Washington Carver and and other people that we were always
And
talked about.
WB. That's right.
Right, exactly. So I learned that from them. And I also grew up 25 miles from Manhattan, as we discussed. My uncle lived 2 blocks from the Apollo Theater. And for 750, I saw everybody: James Brown, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Mandrill, Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway.
Oh,
I played sax, so I saw Cannonball Adderley, and so my parents made sure that I had the education and the culture to know where I came from and who I
that's right.
was.
Yes. When I was a kid, we used to, every summer, my dad would have us read a black biography book that had many chapters about many different people. And then at the end of the summer, we had to give a book report.
Wow.
So he was like,
That's
you're
great.
right. You're not just going to have fun this summer. You're going to keep things going while you still go to summer school and educated. So we
Mhm.
were very much rooted into who we are as Black people. So slavery, what learning that in school, that's not all there is to us. And so and our roots begin way before slavery. Our history is so worldwide.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And I learned from my parents all about all the academics and scientists and
Mm,
activists and leaders of our people. I learned from them.
mm, mm.
I'm glad that they made sure I knew that.
So now you're in Santa Monica. How do you get to the because then I want to get to the juicy stuff. So stay with us, everybody. How do you get to become a police officer? Especially when you're young and policemen stop you and frisk you when they have no reason to, and you become something that I assume you did not admire.
Absolutely. So I was a bodybuilder, which is part of the reason I came to Santa Monica. And I was in the gym with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno and all the legends that were there.
Mm,
And I had a bodybuilder police officer friend who was black, and he recruited me to the police department. I went to the academy, and then I just took off. Next thing I know, 2 years later, I'm a field training officer. I'm a drill instructor in the police academy and the first Santa Monica officer to be a drill instructor in the Rio Hondo Police Academy. I'm in the police academy, and there's a cadet of mine, and she is from Pasadena Police Department. She says, "You ought to meet my husband." And what's he do? He's an FBI agent. He went to Berkeley Law School. She was black. I met him. And this brother was like out of central casting. I
mm,
mean, fit, handsome, law degree from Berkeley. And I met him and I just went, wow. And he and two other black agents talked to me about why I should go to the FBI. And at this point, I was having a dream career at Santa Monica. I was on the crime impact team. I was working backgrounds. I lived a couple blocks from the beach, but they convinced me that I should think about doing this. And it was a conversation I had with someone who's been friends with me now for 45 years. Arnold Schwarzenegger and I are very, very close. And as you know, he wrote the foreword for my book.
mm,
And we had a conversation one afternoon in his house. While I was on duty, I stopped by and he told me how important it would be for me to take this opportunity that came along from the FBI. And he was absolutely right. And I
mm.
wound up going to Quantico.
And then from there, there were so many more interesting things that happened. So you're in the FBI, and then just go ahead and riff for me. Where do you go? Because you go around the world, and with what you are doing, you have become a counterterrorism expert among
Well,
many.
thank you. Thank you. I went to the FBI and I was assigned to foreign counterintelligence and terrorism. At the height of the Cold War, KGB was still very active, Chinese were still very active.
Give me a year.
And this is 19 I went to the FBI right after the 84 Olympics.
Okay.
So in 1984,
Mm,
and I got assigned of all things after going to Quantico for 16 to 20 weeks of training there. I got lucky and went from LA office where I applied to San Diego. Dream spot. Every agent wants to go to San Diego. I mean, what else is there? That was an office of preference, what it was called. I went there, and I was the only black agent in the office out of 175 agents, and I had a dream career. Lo and behold, within about a year, I made the SWAT team, and that was really exciting. They became my extended family. But then we had an undercover opportunity, and it was interesting because the KGB at the time was told that there's only about 250 black agents in the FBI, and don't worry about them because they're all in New York or Washington. So, what's the likelihood if you're a
mm,
spy from Russia that you're going to run into an FBI agent in San Diego who's black and he's undercover? And that's exactly what happened. We had a person who was coming here from, I'll just say, an East Bloc nation, because, by the way, all of the information on the FBI tenure that I had to be approved by the FBI, and it was. They were very, very good when for redactions, but I was not able to say where this person was from. I'll just say an East Bloc country that aligned with the KGB. And what I always tell audiences, Iona, it's not like if you saw Point Break, the original Point Break, with Keanu Reeves, where he plays an undercover FBI agent as a surfer, but he can't surf. That's not what the FBI does. That's not how it would have happened. So they do a very extensive skills survey in the FBI where they ask you everything you could possibly do. Can you drive a truck? Can you ride a motorcycle? Can you work in a laboratory? Well, guess what? I worked in a laboratory for years. I knew how to use all the equipment. I had done surgery. And so I got planted into this lab where this scientist from the East Bloc was coming that we thought might be an intelligence officer. And he was the target of this operation. And as it turned out, the spoiler alert for our readers, we did confirm he was an intelligence officer, and we tried to turn him. And I'm going to let our readers find out by looking at the book in regards to what happened. But it was quite successful, and it got a little dangerous at times because one thing about being undercover is you're always alone. I had a contact agent, but that was my first undercover. Then I went into a second undercover, and in both of them, I couldn't come to the office. I couldn't play softball with my colleagues there. I couldn't run with them and work out with them. I had a undercover apartment on Coronado Island. You love this part. Okay, so I've lived out all my Jason Bourne fantasies. We had a garage in San Diego, and they said, "What car do you want?" So I had a brown, a chocolate brown Maserati. I had a blue Ford Mustang, and I owned a Corvette personally, and I had a condo on Coronado Island. I was living the dream.
Ooh, yes, you were. Yes, you were.
And so in the second undercover, I upped the ante, and I had a 1961 white show Corvette. And the undercovers went quite well. The second undercover was a terrorism undercover where we targeted the country of Iran. And I was a Marine. And again, because I knew enough about the Marine Corps, because I had been a drill instructor, I was able to pass. And that was another very successful undercover. But both of them, because I don't want to have a spoiler alert here, had its moments of being dangerous. I will say the FBI is always very, very careful about putting us in situations that were unsafe. There were a couple things I wanted to do in both undercovers that when it went to Washington for approval, they just said absolutely not. And I tried to convince them, no, I'll be safe. I can do this. And they just not would let me do it. But they did provide me enough protection in these operations that I was safe, and we were quite successful.
That's good, because I'm right at the Iranian situation in the book. So I'm so glad you. I asked him. I said, "Don't be a spoiler alert," and you didn't. With
No.
all of that, where does that take you to Washington? And I'll tell you, it's so interesting to have you on the show right now, because what is happening right now in our government it's concerning to all of us, and I wonder how those of you who are no longer in the government, how you feel about what's happening. Okay, this is my layman's. Let me give this. This is my layman's view of the deterioration of the FBI, the deterioration of the CIA, that it's supposed to be in our America favor. I'm concerned about that. What can you offer?
Well, let me say this, that concerned is a gross understatement with regards to how we all feel. I've had colleagues that have left the Bureau before their intended retirement. I've had colleagues that were removed from the State Department who work counterterrorism. So with that, you lose not just people, but you lose institutional knowledge. And I will just say the de-intellectualization of the selection process for people that are now heading these government agencies is not just embarrassing, but incredibly dangerous. And we are at a state right now, and believe me, our adversaries are watching this. We are at a state right now where we've lost a lot of talent and a lot of expertise, and we need to be very, very cautious about how we move forward because, as you know, I was President Obama's first nominee to head the TSA. And the only thing I'll say about that is, as a nominee, I met other nominees who were selected for other appointments. I owned the resumes that people had were frightening. They were unbelievably talented, deep
Mm,
in terms of what their expertise was, what their experience was, and that's not happening anymore. These
mm,
loyalty appointments are very dangerous because you don't have the expertise that you need to lead an organization or these organizations that are left. So, to answer your question, it's very concerning. I hope that America does not wind up in a situation where, because of this, some of us believe our national security is already compromised
mhm.
and already at risk. And
Yes.
so we are in a very, very precarious state right now as a country because of this deterioration.
Hmm. But first thing I think of, what can we do?
Well,
Other
the
than
one
go to the
thing we
vote.
do,
Hmm.
I applaud those people who are still there. As you know, I mean, I've tried to be inside organizations till you can affect change. It's a little different now when the administration feels a certain way about who should lead these organizations. I don't know organizations where people are at the top that have no experience or knowledge of the institution to run it. And that's where we
Exactly.
are.
Exactly.
Or
Yes.
in some instances, to be adamantly opposed to the organization in the first place, and you wind up in charge of it. So that's very disturbing to have people in positions like this because then you have to wonder how much influence can I have if I'm still there? So I applaud these men and women that are still
Mm,
there trying to do the right thing, actually holding their faith in the oath they all took to the
yes.
Constitution to make sure that this happens.
So that's something interesting you bring up, the oath to the Constitution. What what does that mean for someone who makes that oath?
It means that you are swearing allegiance to democracy, to this country. You are not swearing allegiance to an individual
Mm,
and to an integrity that's always been maintained in order to get things accomplished. You know, we've been that beacon on the hill because of who we are as a country, and that's deteriorating. Um, it's just very, very tragic. If you don't mind, Ione, I mean, what I will do is I'd like to read like about a page
please.
out of the last chapter so you can get a flavor for what is happening.
So
Um,
this is a page out of your book.
this is a page out of my book, and the
Okay.
chapter is entitled "True Faith and Allegiance," and it ends with, "It is a tragic truth that our country has lost its luster as a destination where everyone is welcome and anything is possible. In 2025, as immigration and customs enforcement agents wearing masks started yanking people off the street because of how they looked, other nations began warning their citizens to be careful when visiting the United States or to even reconsider visiting at all. Longtime allies, including Canada, the UK, France, and Australia, assessed that America was no longer a safe place. When our friends are afraid to visit and our allegiance to the rule of law falters, it is time to take a long, hard look in the mirror. We have neglected our minds, bodies, and patriotism, and we need to course correct to rediscover the essence and strength of our nation. It is not found in Washington, D.C. The castle walls surrounding the halls of power are not, in and of themselves, anything. Instead, the beating heart of the United States is in each of us, we, the people.
Mm,
It is in the hundreds of millions of Americans outside the moat whose actions and allegiance define this country. Our common agreement is that all people are created equal, and the rule of law is what guarantees we are treated and treat one another as equal.
mm, mm.
And that's the
Well said.
beginning of the last chapter.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for reading that. This is so important to hear what your thoughts are on this as well, because concerning is a word I use lightly because there is a lot of fear that
Yes,
all of us have.
deservedly so.
We can't live there, or else we will not be able to think clearly
Right.
and we won't be ready for whatever is going to come.
So I'll say that the optimism you pointed out earlier in our conversation about me coming here and becoming a dog catcher, but not having any fear about being able to take care of myself,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel the same way, that I have no fear that there, first of all, I need everyone watching to understand there are thousands of people like me. There are thousands of people out there who feel the same way that I do. And we're not giving up. There have been presidents have tried to remove agencies like the FBI. No one has ever been successful.
Mm-hmm.
There have been presidents who tried to remove certain guardrails in place, and they've not been successful. So we're not giving up.
Good. That's so. Oh, whew, I cannot tell you how good that feels because it is very clear to me and friends with who I text with every day that
Mhm.
we don't have the power in the government to make any changes, but we have power within ourselves.
We do.
And if we can just stay, even though you may go through a moment of anger or fear, but to eventually come back to that positive place, that's sending that joy, that love, that energy out into the universe. I'm very much, I don't know if you believe this or not, but I'm very much into our thoughts and how we feel really affect the universe and affect others. Then we can reach
Absolutely.
people like you. So you will know that you are fortified with us behind you.
Thank you. And I'll tell you where my faith was restored. My
Mm.
faith was restored when I sat for 2 days and watched the grand opening of the Obama Presidential Center.
Oh my God, was that beautiful? Oh my goodness.
That is what America looks like. That
Yes.
is what democracy looks like. That is what hope looks like. And I'll just say this, there's no chapter in my book that ends with, and then he gave up.
Mm-hmm.
We should all
Mm-hmm.
feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we should. We should. And it's so important for us to be in that place. I hear you, Eric. Thank you for your comment as well. Let me pull this. It's longer. I'm terrified how the world has been with all the hate in this world. We all need love for one another. It's so scary now with having high functioning autism. I'm really scared to go in the world.
So I don't
Please,
know if I may, the
please.
timing of your audience and that individual's comment could not be better. I sit on the Governor's Commission for the State of Hate. We had our monthly meeting today,
The state of
and
what? I'm sorry, of
I
California,
sit
you
on the
said?
Governor's Commission for the State of Hate.
Hate. Oh.
It is the first commission of its type in a state in the country, although there are others now. And for those interested, we get together every September in Pittsburgh for what's called Eradicate Hate, where people come from around the world who fight
Mm.
hate. And your audience is correct with regards to all the hate that's in the world. There are two things I will not debate at this point in my life. I will not debate hate with anybody who doesn't understand what it is. And I will not debate racism with anybody who doesn't understand what it is. And so they are correct. And so understand, as I've mentioned previously, there are lots of people like me who are pushing back. And everybody's being targeted now when it comes to hate. People who are disabled, people who are
Yes.
immigrant.
Yes.
Racial hate is number one. Anti-Semitism. I mean, it's just incredible. No one is left behind when it comes to being targeted by someone in the way of hate. And we are trying to get our arms around it because the underreporting is very, very sad that people don't feel comfortable enough to
Mm.
even come forward to report it and let us know. But again, rest assured, there are commissions, there are organizations, there are laws in place to address this. And with the right people in place, it can be addressed and it can be reduced and mitigated.
That's wonderful to know. So then me as an individual, what can you suggest that I can do, that we can do as individuals who aren't part of the government, who are concerned about this, to
The
live
one
our
thing is
lives?
to live your lives. The first thing is, of course, is to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else.
Mhm.
That's most important. So self-care is critical. The next thing is to understand what resources are available. And last but not least, what to report to people when things happen. And I always say this, If you have to ask yourself, should I report this? You've already answered the question.
Mm.
Don't wait for someone else to do it. That's the see something, say something mantra is very real. And you'd be surprised how many people now are reporting things and how we're able to address it once we find out. We can't respond if we don't know that it's happening. So don't be afraid to do that, but you've got to take care of yourself. We live in a country where, unfortunately, we have a lot of things happen here that don't happen anywhere else. We have school shootings. Most countries don't have that. Everybody goes through an active shooter drill. Um, it's very sad. So to pretend that that doesn't happen is that's not acceptable. It's just not because I'm an analyst with a local network on NBC4, and unfortunately, when I get called for these things when they happen, when we interview people, the first thing they always say is, "I never thought this would happen here." We can't say that anymore. We just can't. But understand, we can mitigate it. We can detect it. We can deter it from happening. These are not opportunity crimes. These are targeted crimes. So don't make yourself a victim. Take care of yourself. Be alert. Grasp your situational awareness. Everyone walks around today looking at their phone.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's looking at their phone. So already you're not paying attention.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's really unfortunate.
How do you keep yourself going? How do you keep yourself up and positive and moving forward?
That's the easy part. I love what I do. I have never worked a day in my life.
Huh.
I have had fun. As you mentioned, I followed my heart.
Mm.
I love people. I can't go anywhere and not meet people. I'm coming from doing a book talk yesterday out in Pachanga, and I talked to the people at the desk. I talked to the bellman. I talked to the
I saw
security
you. I check
officers.
you out. Yes.
I mean, that's just who I am. I love people, and so that's how I keep myself up. But more importantly, I get up every day. I work out every day. I'm not a kind of competitive bodybuilder anymore, but I work out every day, and that's my space. If I do that in the morning, I'll do anything for you. I can do anything after that, and I've done that for my entire life. So that's how I keep myself going. Is I keep myself fit. I try to stay up with things that are happening in the world. I read a lot and I push myself. I haven't
That part.
seen, yeah, I haven't seen the ceiling. One person's ceiling is another person's floor. I'm still on the floor. I haven't seen
Hmm.
the ceiling yet. So I'm always saying, what could I have done different today? What could I have done better today? Who did I help today? That's what's important to me because I say this often, and I apologize to your audience if I say it too much. I would not be here if it were not for the people who went through a lot tougher things than I'm going through right now. I would not be here. So when I feel like whining, as I did to my dad when I got profiled by the police,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "You can't change the castle from outside the moat," I just pull myself up and say, "Look, this is nothing." And I keep moving.
And that's why your book is entitled Inside the Castle Walls.
Dad gave me that vision, and that's how I've tried to live my life. I've been in organizations where typically when you walk in the room, I'm the only person who looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in the room where those policies are being made. I'm in the room where those issues are being adjudicated. I'm
Mm.
in the room when those decisions are made about what direction the organization is going to go in. And there have been people like me before me who were there, and it's my duty to continue that. Some people will say they have a job. I've always felt like I have a responsibility.
So you have always been, because that is a big thing on your EPK and also your bio, is about you being a public servant. And everyone who thinks whatever about the FBI, about policemen, you have always seen it as being a public servant. And I was really pleased to see. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. My heart felt better when I read in your book about the men who shaped you in the police department to come from that thought of how we
Mhm.
treat each other.
It's about humanity
Mhm.
and being a good person. I've always felt like if you look at society, nothing functions if it's not safe. And so
Mhm.
that's always been my space. If we can have a safe space, people can excel, they can live, they can succeed. But without a safe space, nothing happens. You're too worried about harm and
Mhm.
hurt and
Mhm.
anger. So I know my calling. My calling has always been one of I need to help create that safe space. And that's where I've always been.
You didn't that's where you've been since you became part of the police department, or was that where you've always been and then you didn't know that how it would manifest?
I think you're probably more correct than I am. I think that's where I've always been and didn't know how it would
Mm.
manifest because, I went from my son, the doctor, um, to a person who believed that I could make people feel better, if you will, because they were in
Mm.
a safe place.
That is so important, and that is what we talk about a lot on here on The Vision is Possible. You know, there are so many times when I want to be a star, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to, but maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Maybe what it is you are a star in the classroom, or maybe it's easy for you to sew, so you're a star with wardrobe. But it is not always about visions of grandeur or seeing or not really seeing yourself. And it sounds like what you've been very good at doing is seeing yourself.
I have, and you mentioned earlier, I've had some incredible mentors, and
Mhm.
I've had opportunities come my way because I got a phone call. I mean, I got a phone call and I wound up at the LA County Museum of Art for 11 years as a vice president and the chief of protective services there. Got an incredible cultural education for free and met people. I will say this to you. Everybody goes to a museum. I've walked into Janet Jackson, Forrest Whitaker, escorted Hillary Clinton. I mean, everybody goes to a museum. Little did
Mhm.
I know. And again, it was just a calling. Um, I had a student who went to the State Department who had me come to Washington and brief the State Department. And they said, how'd you like to represent us in France? I wound up teaching at the University of Paris for 3 years. I've been
Oh.
around the world because God bless him, President Obama nominated me. And although I withdrew from nomination, and people can read that story in the book, but I had countries that when I got there, I'd say, you invited me to come to your country to study and speak. Yes. Well, because they said, because you were the nominee. I said, yeah, but I withdrew. And they go, you were the president's nominee. You were
Mhm.
Barack Obama's nominee. They said, that's all we need to know.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I took these opportunities.
Mm.
So it really is about a lot of times I think people have opportunities standing and staring them in the face. They don't understand it and they don't take it. And sometimes there's some risk, but without any risk, there's no reward.
Could you
And
repeat
so I've
that,
always done
please?
that.
Without?
Without some risk, there's no reward.
Mm.
I'm not saying do something dangerous, but I'm saying you might want to do something different. I went from a police uniform to a museum. To most people, that made no sense.
Mm.
In the end, it made a lot of sense because I wound up in a cultural institution in a protection space where I then became the Americans with Disabilities Act coordinator. So I had a whole other demographic of people that I became close to, which were people who were disabled. In
Ah.
fact, I'm speaking next month at the National Accessibility and Special Needs Symposium. We have over
Mhm.
2,500 people registered for that conference that I'm going to keynote. There's a whole other demographic that gets ignored in the world of safety. And so here was an opportunity that I could have said, I don't want to do that. Look where I am now. So when people make that call or make that suggestion, don't just say no because you've never done it. Think about it for a moment. It could be an opportunity that you never ever dreamed would happen.
You've inspired me about two. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. Opportunities that have come up. I'll let you know on the side at another time, and I'll let you
Okay.
guys know too, because I'm now excited about just jumping out there and seeing what happens. This is an opportunity that I know I told you, and a lot of you guys may not know, but I didn't start this podcast because I wanted to do a podcast. My brother and I ended up having a conversation, just a simple conversation on Instagram Live as part of a um a person that I had hired for social media told me to do.
Mhm.
And one thing led to another, and here we are. And all these interesting people I'm getting a chance to interview and meet and pull from them what has made their visions possible. And this has
So
been
let me
very exciting. Please.
let me respond to Eric because he's mentioned that um, about he talked about high functioning autism.
Mm.
So Eric, again about being inside the castle, I was responsible along with a committee for selecting the chief of the USC's University of Southern California's Department of Public Safety. She happens to have a son, and it's very well known that he has autism. She's an autism expert. So guess what? Now all of our officers have been trained
Mm.
to address autism when they meet it in the field. They've all been trained in trauma informed care. Having a chief like her is critical. Having me in a position to select a chief like her in the castle was critical. Again, another opportunity that perhaps someone wouldn't have recognized me and her had we not been in this space, and nothing happens by accident. I'll say this to you, Iona, because you know I come from the intelligence community. We always say in the intelligence community, coincidence takes a lot of planning.
Mhm. Ha.
Okay?
Ha.
So
Ha.
Chief Hill, knowing Errol Southers and working together in a space that can address autism is powerful. And
Mm.
that's what she does. I feel so
That's
blessed that she's there.
that is wonderful. I'm hoping that our police departments around the country can go through training like that to understand when people are just going through mental breakdowns.
Yes.
They're not on drugs.
Right.
There are too many
Absolutely.
people who've gotten killed and they've just lost it in that brief moment, and there is this lack of understanding.
Hmm. De-escalation is the most important part of policing. And I can tell you that there are departments like LAPD, like the one we have in Department of Public Safety at USC, where we actually award officers for de-escalation and trauma-informed
Mm.
care as opposed to arrest and use of force.
I will say that was one of the most interesting things about your book. Um, when you're talking about going into the SWAT team of the FBI, and there's a situation that you all are involved in. So I'm expecting guns blazing and blah, 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 blah. And the most important thing was that that did not happen. And
I'm very
I was blown
no,
away
no, go
by
ahead.
that. I was blown away by that because that's not what I think. I think, like
I'm
the
very,
police, the FBI, you want that action.
yeah, as you read, and spoiler alert, I go to our team was considered the third best in the country behind New York and LA. So we went to a lot of missions that were everywhere other than San Diego,
Hmm.
and several prison riots, barricaded suspects that had shot through the door at agents when they got there, and we wound up dealing with it. But I'm very proud to say, with all the missions that I was honored to be on with my teammates, um, the really important thing about the end of my career at the FBI as a SWAT team member is we never killed anybody. We didn't have
Wow.
to. We're very proud of that. Although, keep in mind, I mean, special weapons and tactics is called because everything else conventional has failed.
Hmm.
So that's what we were trained to do. But the fact that we never had to do that is a badge of honor that we all walked away with, and we're very proud of it.
Hmm. There's so much we really don't know because watching televisions and films we think is the truth. I am so grateful that you were here with me today, with us, and you brought all of this expertise and knowledge about what is happening now, and also how you became who you are, Errol.
Well,
You're
I'm grateful to be invited to share your space. You're a rock star,
oh.
and I'm just so delighted to be here. And quite frankly, again, I'm just delighted to be able to do what I do.
Mm. Before you go, I ask all of my guests this. You've said so much. Is there anything on your heart or in your mind that you haven't said that you'd like to share with us to inspire us or make us even feel safer?
I would say that the only thing I would want to share is to be a good human being, emphasize humanity. All my years as a professor, what I really wanted to do was make people who were geopolitically astute, but good human beings. That's what I wanted to do. And I have hundreds of students, if not thousands of students out there that hopefully I've been able to influence them in that way. But the other thing I want to say is don't lose hope. And as I mentioned to you, Iona, some time ago during your program, Juneteenth at the Obama Presidential Center was hope. We're not done yet. And there is no chapter that ends with, and then we gave up. So I'm going to read the
Please.
dedication in my book to finish because that was so important to me and it wasn't hard to write at all. My mom and dad, their names were Thelma and James. So my dedication in my book is for Thelma and James Southers, my indigenous ancestors whose land was stolen from them, and my African ancestors who were stolen from their land. I have a lot more to do. I haven't done
Mm.
hardly enough, and I'm not finished yet.
You are just amazing, Errol. I want to put this here. This is his book, Inside the Castle Walls. You can find this on Amazon. And also, when I show you his information, you can also get it as well from there. Here is a book award. Now, tell us about this, Errol, before you go, because we didn't talk about this, and you mentioned about voting.
I'm blown away by this. This is the International Impact Book Awards, and they're having an event in October, coincidentally, on my daughter's birthday, October 10th. And I'm a finalist for Author of the Year, and I would have never expected this to happen. We share a manager, and as you know, about the same time I became a finalist for the award, and I hope everybody who's watching this will vote for me. Um, the book that Stephen nudged me on the last 3 to 5 years to finish has now been optioned for adaptation to screen or television for a series or a film.
Oh,
So
that's
I'm
fantastic.
living, I'm just living the dream, and I'm so blessed. And I want to thank everyone that's around me, supporting me. Words cannot express how I feel. And if I had to say anything in closing, just thank you all so very much for believing in me and believing in what we do.
Errol, I'll find out how we can vote. And I'll make something beautiful and post it. And I'll also talk about it on my show to follow up. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for being here. I'm going to share your information, but I want to tell you to have you here today has just been an excellent treat for all of us.
Thank you. I'm the one, believe me, it was my honor to be here. And I think I've had more fun than your audience has had.
Thank you. You have a beautiful evening. Mwah.
You too. Thank you so much.
Ciao. I'm feeling so much better. I am. I'm feeling so much better about our country. The hands our country are still in. Dr. Erroll G. Southers. Woof! Is he not fantastic? Here's his info. Instagram. Oh, I've got one thing that's wrong on there. Nita Whitaker. I can't believe that got there. I'll fix it in post. This is where you can reach Dr. Southers in many different places. He's quite amazing. And again, I want to show you. I put him back there because I'm so upset with myself that I didn't change that. Both of us looked at it, Erroll. We both looked at it. But here again is his book, Inside the Castle Walls. I am reading it, you guys, and it is quite wonderful. It's wonderful. And just to know that this man came from New Jersey, a small town. He told us that his town probably didn't have sidewalks until in the last decade. So many times, people cry the blues about what they don't have, who's not in their lives. Nobody's seeing me. I have all these terrible things that have happened to me, and I don't want to minimize any of that. But as you listen to Dr. Southers and other guests who've been on here, no one starts out with having it all. We all have had challenges. If you think of those challenges as lessons, things to learn. Remember the first time you baked something and you failed, or the first time you cooked something and you failed? You learned. Too much salt, not enough sugar, too much this or that or the other. You learn those things. If you didn't mess it up, you may not have figured out a new way to, I'll remember that. Figured out a new way to make a dish. I once grabbed the almond extract instead of the vanilla extract for a dessert I was making. I was horrified. Oh my God, what could I do? It was delicious. I once grabbed curry by accident to put into my chicken soup. I was like, oh my God. I don't make chicken soup without curry. I don't make my, what I call heavenly eggs, deviled eggs, without curry. Sure, I'm just talking about cooking, but there are other things that we often think in our minds the way it's supposed to be. And then we don't take risks. That was a word that Erroll used. Taking risks to do something. Taking risks to fly across the country, taking risks to go to that event you don't want to go to, taking risks to walk into work tomorrow and to sit down and talk with your boss about the things that you want to start doing differently in your job so you can get paid more. And you may be surprised because they may say, we've been waiting, or they may say, great, because there's an opening. Risks to say things, ideas of things that you want to invent. We couldn't be here now if the person who invented this computer, this Wi-Fi, had stopped because people said no, because I guarantee you people said no. People said, no, that sounds crazy. No. Don't let the no's stop you. Let the no's inspire you to get better at what you do. Let the no's possibly save you, because working with that person is not where you really want it to be. Continue on with your heart's desire. Erroll said something very interesting. He mentioned that he had always been in a place of wanting to protect, of wanting to safety. And I said, well, wait a minute, you said you wanted to be a doctor. So is it that you just figured that out from when you became a policeman? Or was that always your state of being and you didn't really know where it would land you? And he said that was it. I think that's very important for all of us to think about. What is your mindset? What does your heart tell you? Not specifically of what you want to do, but of how you want to feel. Of how you want a career where you don't work a day in your life. You know what I mean? Of what you want to do to be a public servant to the community of the world. And see if that still takes you down the road that you're on, or whether it shifts you whether it confirms the road that you want, maybe. See what it does for you so that you're not caught up in the fantasy of being fabulous in whatever it is you want to do. Wow, I'm so inspired, and I love this man's book, and I'm going to get to it. It's not as soon as we get off, but I read some of it every single night so that I can eventually finish it. And I can't wait to finish it and get in touch with Erroll and go, oh, I had no idea this was going to happen. And so anyway, I'm so glad that all of you are here tonight. Let me find another piece of music that I might want to listen to here. A little bit of something, something, something. Oh, I really like this song. Here's my info of where you can find me. Please reach out. Please get to your friends and tell your friends to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Come and join us right here on The Vision is Possible. And here's the show's info. Thanks, Eric, for that lovely message. That's awesome. Check us out, you guys. You can watch the show on Wednesday nights live, and next Wednesday. Is it going to be next Wednesday? Not next Wednesday, but there are going to be a few Wednesdays where I won't be live because I'm so busy shooting. But I will always update a fabulous interview for you. So, have a great rest of your evening. Remember what Erroll said about being a nice person, a good person. That's very important. All right. I'm loving you up madly. I'll see all of you